Agenda change first, Char, or minutes from the last meeting?
Agenda, please.
Okay, so disappointing for some folks who came in for one of our items. We have actually had our delegation removed from the agenda for tonight's meeting. So we have an official change in our agenda. Council Township of Armour approved the agenda of May 27th, 2025 as amended without the delegation. Moved by Dorothy, and seconded by Jerry. Any questions, concerns? All those in favor? Okay, that's carried. So the rest of the agenda, other than the item with the delegation from Chief Friedman, the rest of the agenda is the same. First up, set of minutes, second up, I should say. Council Township of Armour approved the minutes of the regular council meeting held on May 13th, 2025 as circulated. Get a mover. Sure. And Jerry. Any errors, omissions, edits, questions? All those in favor? Carried. All righty. First up, we are on to applications. On to item 4 in your agenda package. This is the Shore Road Allowance 98 Doe Lake Peninsula. And this looks like some old paperwork, but sure, I'll pass it over to you for some background on this one.
Okay, so this one, if you scroll, let's scroll first to page 36 of your agenda. You can see in our CGIS mapping that 98, which is the very first lot on the left-hand side at the start of the peninsula, shows that Shore Road is owned. It's always shown that the Shore Road's been owned, even in our GIS. Back in 1988, there were 2 property owners wanting to buy their Shore Road and their road allowance that went between the lots. So this one was kind of weird. The people on the right had everything transferred. The family on the left, it shows you on page 34 of your agenda package that property owner, the Wiltons, wanted to buy both. But in 1988, we charged them based on Bob's report confirming it and the surveyor, but we never transferred it. So now, after that, the property owner received a building permit, built a cottage on the Shore Road, thinking even our GIS mapping shows that they own it.
They owned it, yeah.
But when KPK Serving went out to do a site plan, because now they want a demo rebuild for the cottage and the same footprints, Kevin found, hey, this Shore Road was never transferred. So there's 2 resolutions that's in front of council tonight. One is for Armour to cover all of the costs. So the survey is quoted at roughly $2,300, and the lawyer wants about $3,000 to transfer it, with Armour correcting the administrative error that was missed in 1988. Or the second resolution is you're just going to pay a percentage. Both the planner and the surveyor recommending that Armour, because it was administrative oversight from 1988, incur the costs.
And they paid in 1988, right?
Back then, Shore Road was sold at a flat rate of $200.
So, but they've paid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that everything's.
5275 is the total
Yeah.
cost, roughly. Well, that'd be the maximum, I guess.
Yeah, I totaled it on page 39. So between 47 and 52.75. But we wouldn't go through the entire process of advertising. It's already been done. It was an administrative oversight.
And they've all along, they thought they've owned it.
Yeah, it wasn't till Kevin did the survey that it came up, but even our GIS mapping, I'll be honest with you, if I received a phone call and they were selling it and they were asked, do they own the Shore Road? I would have said yes.
Yeah, because you look at the GIS, that's what it looks like.
Yeah, because everyone on the peninsula owns it.
Yeah.
Shore Road.
And we tax them on the new property that they built on the Shore Road, right? On the new building?
I don't know. I would say yes.
Okay.
Because back then, a lot of, like, that whole peninsula, they automatically own their shore road. Like, it's sort of like anyone that owned around Owl Lake, they own right to the water. Only some lakes have that shore road allowance. So when you look at that peninsula, it always looked like everybody owned to the water. But because you had that little unopened road allowance between the two, that was closed in the eighties, it was closed on their property when they bought it. But you can see on page 38 that they didn't do the shore road.
So when I bought on the peninsula in 2020 something, my lawyer told me that it was open road allowance, that we could access this piece of land because there was an open road allowance still there.
There is up to a certain point. Until you get to the peninsula, there's like a common area in there as well.
Yeah, he said you have open road allowance to that wide open area.
Yes, yeah, that's the center of the block part, yes, but the water's edge, everybody, it's always assumed everybody owns the water's edge. It wasn't till the surveyor pulled the.
Okay,
So the road allowance, between 98 and 744, that's still a road allowance. That leads into the big property.
Yes,
that's still open.
That's
That's the other side that we're dealing with?
It's the
Okay.
main side that's the
Okay.
issue.
Yeah.
Okay. So the reason I haven't read the resolution is because there's two versions of it. One to cover all the costs and one to cover X%, depending on what you guys think. So questions for Charlene? Any comments on what you guys think we should be doing in terms of cost?
I think it was a municipal error, didn't cost somebody else. Somebody screws up, they pay for it.
Dorothy?
Yeah, I think they've already paid. Like they thought they already owned it. We can't ask them to pay again.
Sure.
I'm just wondering if there was lawyers involved on their part in purchasing the property or not.
there were two lawyers involved in this based on Bob's report, and they got into a. Yeah, between. That's in Bob's summary.
Yeah, I saw that.
Is there any, are you alluding to, was it really our fault or was it?
I'm sort of leaning, it's not necessarily all our fault,
Yeah,
but I could see a percentage our fault.
but it's not, but I agree in the sense if we could say the lawyers buggered it up. Or there's, yeah, it would be the lawyers, but not the homeowner.
And for us to hold a lawyer account, well, to tell the homeowner we'll pay for part, but they're gonna have to go to the lawyer for the other part from 40 years ago.
Yeah, so I mean, it's an issue that unfortunate things happen, but
But if you hire a lawyer, you normally follow through.
But it was our clerical error not registering it, right?
Based on the reports between both the Bob and the surveyor. So the township legacy files confirm that the Wiltons did in fact apply to have their shore road allowance closed and purchased in 88.
yeah, so the township didn't follow through with what they're supposed to do.
And you allowed them to build on that shore road.
Okay.
So I have a pre-con tomorrow morning for a site plan, and this is where it's hung up. We can't let them do a demo rebuild on that shore road if they don't own it.
If we,
That's a little more clear.
if we only pay a percentage, they're never gonna get the money out of the lawyer. They're gonna be out of pocket. The owners are gonna be out of pocket. So. Okay, so I'll read in version 1. Council Township of Armour accepts the reports from municipal planner and surveyor and approve the title transfer of the shore road allowance fronting 98 Doe Lake Peninsula Road to Laura Glenn Sclater, Heather Elizabeth Gray, David Austin Gray, and Michael Allen Gray. Furthermore, that due to the administrative oversight 1988, that the township pay all costs for the survey and legal transfer. Dorothy. Seconder.
Sure.
Was that right?
Dorothy first and then Rod.
Rod and I tied. I waved my hand and grinned.
You have a pecuniary interest. It's David Gray is one of the names on here.
No, there's other grays.
Okay, any other questions for Shar?
Awesome. I'll be able
All
to
in
look
favor?
for a site plan on that one.
There. Want to record a vote here? No. He's not. Okay, thank you for cleaning that up. Next up, item 5 in your agenda package. This is the holding on CHMH zoning lots on Berrydale Road that came up in our last meeting. I'll read in the resolution and then we'll go through some of the stuff some of the feedback from Bob Miller. The Council Township of Armour have reviewed and received the municipal planner's report regarding the CHMH zoning on Berrydale Road and authorized municipal planner to proceed with drafting the zoning bylaw amendment. Get a mover just to
Sure.
get it on the table, Rod. Seconder, Dorothy, okay. So this is the section, sure, that we had talked about essentially taking the. Well, at one point we talked about turning these into rural holding as opposed to,
Bob's saying no. He's saying, you're going against the PPS in designated areas for commercial development. However, what he's proposed as a solution, I think will work. So when you go to page 41 of your agenda package, he's saying that under the CHMH zone, that section 5.13.1, holding provisions in the CHMH zone, which is your commercial holding rural industrial holding zone, detail the following exceptions without having to remove the H zone. So keep in mind that right now with Marina's property, CHMH, if she wants to sever to create residential lots for her kids, she has to rezone, because the minute that you start severing it, you lose that protection of the holding, right? So now he's saying you keep the CHMH zone and it under these provisions. So you don't have to remove the holding if you're doing a severance for dwellings for A. For B, you don't have to remove the holding for any legal issues existing on the date of the passing, so of any building or structure. So usually when it comes to a holding zone, you can build a house, but you can't build a garage. You'd have to get the holding removed for the garage. Now he's saying that you can have accessory uses in the holding zone for the CHMH. So basically he's saying, let Marina sever her lots, keep all those lots as CHMH, because maybe later on someone in that area is still designated as commercial residential. You guys were concerned last meeting about potential, allowing residential use and industrial, the conflict between the uses. And then the only time that the CHMH would need to be removed is, say somebody moves in and they say, okay, I do want to put in a commercial lot there, then they have to go through the holding removal and the site plan process. But by keeping the CHMH, they don't have to rezone if they want to have horses, cattle and sheep, because it's already existing there, right? Assuming that the lots are 10 acres or more, right?
Yeah.
So he's still permitting like a lot of the residential use with those exceptions in the CHMH.
so Marina wouldn't have to actually rezone.
No, because it says right there that you're allowing severances.
But I don't believe the lots were 10 acres.
No, but you need 10 acres to have a farm.
Oh, so, okay, to use that section of it.
Yeah.
The F section of
So
it.
section F said for horses, cattle and sheep,
Yep.
you'd have to have 10 acres.
Okay.
So you're still following the PPS in designating that area as for commercial development because it's no load limit with Berrydale, but you're putting in an exception because you have CHMH to still allow for residential.
Actually gonna be easier for her.
Absolutely. And even there.
And I get the point about keeping it as commercial,
Yeah, that's,
because that was the plan all along, right?
that way if people come in here and they wanna do something in there in the middle of perhaps a settlement area, they gotta meet us and council, and council's not gonna let that happen, so.
Yeah, and then the other thing too is that in the rule or where it's what it's zoned right now with CHMH, it was, you could have like a house. Now under section J, you can have the additional residential units as well. So you're pretty much putting all the permitted RU uses in the
So
CHMH.
this,
So my only concern is, I thought she was severing, and I might be completely wrong, but was she not severing 32 acres? Because if she is, that won't leave any of them large enough to keep animals.
She doesn't have a farm. The farm's over on that other property that's not hers.
Across the road,
No, further down. She's like,
Trevor's,
but Trevor's is what's being divided.
No,
Marina's.
It's Marina's.
no, Marina's
Okay, I just don't want us later to go, oh, sorry, we've missed something now, none of you can have animals. Okay, okay. Perfect.
Do we have to rescind the bylaw we did for Marina last week? Because we had our last meeting, because it was about changing it to rural.
Or
Saying that
do
we,
something.
You don't, you could still keep that in case she does want to rezone it, but with what Bob is doing, she wouldn't have to go through the rezoning process.
Change your mind real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she won't take that resolution to the planning board if you guys pass that.
any other questions for Shar or Dave on this one?
We don't need to get rid of the last one anyway, so that somebody else on neighboring properties could potentially try to use them to rezone it.
They wouldn't have to with that. Cause they just sever and keep the CHMH, they don't have to take the roll off or they don't have to change it to roll now with that. So anyone on that strip, does that make sense? So everybody on that strip has CHMH.
Yes.
So before tonight, if they wanted to sever it to create a residential lot, they'd have to rezone.
Mhm.
Now they don't have to if we put that through, because we're gonna put an exception in for CHMH, where if you want to create residential, that'll help a lot of lots in that area.
Absolutely. That's a good thing.
All right, so we've read the resolution and we've got it's moved and seconded. Any other questions? All those in favor? And that's carried.
What I'll do is the same thing as what we did with the septic one, is I'll bring it through. It's a draft under unfinished business. You guys review it. If you're okay with it, then Kayla will proceed with the circulation.
Okay.
In case you want to see revisions.
That'll give Wendy a chance to look at it too. Okay. We already up to reports? Holy cow.
Take a break first.
Okay, first up in our reports, we have the Historical Society. So Charlene, over to you for that one. It's your night, it's your night.
All right, we have one delegation, Colin Love. I think he's going to be coming to council in the near future. Looking for basically just some sort of supporting resolution. He came to the Historical Society because he's proposing buying an old boat and running it up and down the Mag, following traditional routes. And he basically reached out to the Historical Society to help provide him with some historical information and just to provide support in principle for this touring vessel. Now, I did connect him with Bob Miller. He was planning on getting like not a steamship. It was something that was served in the Coast Guard. Bob had concerns about how deep it was and the requirements because of.
And a number of years ago, there's a guy in Ottawa who was gonna bring a boat over here, but he couldn't get under the bridge.
Yeah, and that's what Bob was saying. And then with the development with the Northland Power, putting all the silt in the river, it would probably need to be dredged, and that's DFO. So regardless, I connected Colin with Bob.
You'll be able to go all the way down the river. There won't be a problem.
Well, there's a part that Bob spoke where,
There's a channel. There's one spot, if you went in the center of the river, it's shell if you're in the center, but there's a channel all the way around. If, as long as you know where the deep water is, you're fine. Just a matter of putting a buoy in.
gotcha. So yeah, we'll see if Colin moves forward with coming to council. He basically just wants to get some support. He was thinking of mooring it at the Welcome Center.
Good idea if it'll fit under the bridge.
Lots of education opportunities built into his project as well, and bringing classes on and teaching them about some of the heritage of the river and.
Yeah, it's neat.
And boat rides are fun. If you've not been on the water, it's like just a fun, short little boat ride. That's fantastic.
20 years ago, Dave Stewart Senior was gonna do the same project. He actually had a boat that was gonna create smoke like white steam. So it made it look like a steam, and he had the smokestack hinged so it could go under the bridge. He is a captain, so he can actually use his captain's paper, so he could ferry more than 8 people at a time on a boat.
Okay.
It fell through. Reasons will blow your mind away, but it was, so that and the Magneto and River Heritage Development Committee.
Right.
Nieves was gonna, she found that study that I was part of that years ago. And then we gave him Dave's name, and then I called Dave and left a message, just a heads up, somebody might be questioning him about the story. Yeah, because I was at Works Falls when he made the presentation. It was pretty good.
So he's gonna come here likely. as a
Maybe,
delegation? Okay.
And yeah, just give them the rest of the minutes. There's not too much else really going on for Heritage Day. And the summer student, we had one application. We're gonna wait and see if the girl accepts it or not. Fingers crossed.
Okay, we still only got 3 for the dunk tank so far on Heritage Day.
Yes, well, John said yes, but I didn't realize he's Magneto on fire too, so I've got to schedule him just so it doesn't interfere with his challenge.
Do it at the very end. When he needs to cool off. Yeah, I might.
Yeah, that's when the
Maybe
water's the
first.
worst.
Maybe first.
How about you?
I'm flipping burgers. You want a soggy bun?
When will cover you at that time?
Did you reach out to anybody in Kearney or Emstow? Perry?
No, not yet.
I can do that.
Sweet,
Oh,
thanks.
Ryerson, did we reach out to anybody in Ryerson?
I got Dan.
Dan's good, okay.
Dan's good sport. He's done.
Nobody from Burke's Falls yet?
Yeah, Sean Cotton.
Oh, perfect. He'll want to go first
He did.
in respect to the pink eye.
He didn't get to go in last year. I wouldn't let him go in.
Because of the pink eye, yeah. Perfect.
Okay.
So then we have more than 3.
I'd put you in there too.
There you go. Okay, any questions for Shar on the Historical Society? Next up, Library Board. May 21st, Rod.
I don't have anything more to, I only had one note on there. What I had, but it was pretty, the meeting was more about what we had conversation last night. Took more of the meeting than anything.
Okay. Got Davis online. I don't know if she'd have any updates. Okay. Questions for Rod on the library? I think we talked that one sufficiently last night. ACE board. So Dave and I were at the meeting. So maybe Dave, I'll let you take the floor for a second.
Tagging me in.
Yeah,
I'm under strict orders on this one.
yeah. I have a
Um,
hook, don't worry.
Yeah, so the just a couple of quick notes. So the information was sent off to with regards to ACE participation in the RCIP program at the North Bay Chamber of Commerce. So we're waiting for that program to roll out, but basically it's a program that helps employers that have newcomers in their ranks to proceed quicker through their permanent resident status. Which I think is great. The last RNIP program kind of wedged off Burke's Falls, as I've discussed in a number of meetings. This is open now to the entire Magwin Highlands area. So if you look at the old RNIP numbers from previous ACE reports, there was still a good amount of pickup through Magwin. Yeah, the more opportunities to help with local projects such as the Mimic Monteith or the Sprucedale Community Center project. That's pretty exciting. Won't go through everything. I think that there was some good conversation about an article that's going to be coming out here very shortly. It's public facing. That's been prepared by Sarah, and that's kind of helps. It's a starting point to helping demystify economic development services in our rural environment. So it breaks down kind of what taxpayers' money goes towards, and a lot of that comes down to the idea of, for just over 1% of what you pay for taxes, you're helping support small businesses in reaching their goals. You're helping communities grow their facilities and a litany of other items. So that's kind of a starting point for our demystifying economic development in Almagwin. There was some more talk about the shared services agreement. There was some more talk about, and just for I guess anybody in the audience here, anybody listening, the ACE is doing kind of a monthly tour to all of our member municipalities, spending time in all of our municipal offices, welcoming businesses, council members to come and chat. Again, in the hopes of understanding what local priorities are and giving us kind of foots in the door for actioning projects that we may be able to support or our skills may be able to support. I think we've visited most of our partners. And we've gotten great response from it. And yeah, I think it's a good starting point to ensuring we're including the will of all of our councils all the way around the region. Yeah, so those were the main bullet points. I mean, the report is in the agenda, and you know, like I always say, if any council member wants to know more about any project, door's always open, phone's always on.
There was some good discussion around Sarah's report, kind of a meeting after the meeting, and I suspect some of those ideas might come back to a future meeting. That would be my guess, just some
In transit as we speak.
in transit. Yeah, so I think there's some good thought, and it generated good discussion because of the value that ACE brings, and I think it's economic development is a little bit nebulous, but when you put it in terms that are real dollars, you know, for this amount of money, this is what you're getting. I keep using the example of the fact that Muskoka and area Ontario Health Team is now the Muskoka Almegwin Ontario Health Team, and that doesn't happen if you don't have ACE. It's been that push to get the name out there that's been that's the vehicle that we've been riding for all these years, and I think people forget that. So
The brand is starting to
The
make
brand.
sense.
yeah, it's sinking in now.
And for 1%, so that you like have accessible business within your community and your neighbors are able to have successful businesses for 1% of your taxes. I had no idea it was 1%. That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah, the maximum was 1.5, and actually the lowest was a little bit under that.
So it's incredible. So like below 2% for absolutely everybody, and everybody has access to your service within the Almagwin Highlands is incredible.
Good. Thanks, David. Okay, next up, we have the EMS advisory committee meeting. None of us would have been at that meeting. This is the one Dan's on now, is that correct?
Right.
So I did jot down a comment here, if I can find it. And I should have asked Dan when I saw him last night, but I wondered, the price has gone up on the build in Burks Falls. And I'm wondering if they revisited the thought of joining EMS with the fire hall bill. That actually came up in the conversation. And originally they decided they were going to be part of the fire hall bill, then they decided to just stick with the building they have here. But now that the price has gone up, did they revisit the possibility of putting it in the fire hall?
Mayor Chris Hope yesterday said that a severance was happening for EMS. When I was discussing the severance for the library, he said the severance was happening for EMS. So is it currently on Burks Falls land and they're going to sever the land and own the building? Is that why the price is going up? Because they're now purchasing the
I
land?
don't think that's where the price is going up. I think the bill price went up.
It doesn't sound like the severance is done yet.
No, I think it's in progress. So what happened? They got their submissions back, but all of the submissions effectively were over budget. With the lowest
The
bid.
cost financial impacts on page 74. For the tender amount, plus the cost for the site works.
Would it be worthwhile to,
Yeah, 545 plus 150 for the site works. Anyway, I think I can follow up with Dan, but I think it's worth going back and asking the question because it doesn't state in here that they just talk about the fact that they approve going over budget. But it doesn't say if they talked about, maybe we need to revisit
what was the original quote for them to be part? I thought it was like 1.2 or 1.3.
I'd have to look back because there were grants involved, so
Yeah.
it wouldn't have cost them that much. It was. I can't remember. We'd have to
So
look.
the background says the Burks Falls EMS based was in need of significant upgrading. The EMS advisory committee recommended renovations and additions up to 500,000. With bridge financing being provided through EMS reserves. And upon completion, long-term financing for the project to be provided by the village. With the EMS operational budget funding for the financing over 15 years. Tenders came back over budget with the lowest submission being just over 545. And there are additional site works of 500,000 to 150,000.
So Burks Falls is financing the renovation?
Yeah, they're holding the loan, but the EMS is paying for it.
Up to a maximum of 700,000.
Now it's up to 700.
So will Burks Falls borrow money?
They'll get the loan. The loan will be in their name
Okay,
and
thank you.
EMS will pay them back, presumably. I presume that's how it's gonna work.
Yeah, it's increasing the EMS budget from 46,000 to 64 annually.
Okay. I'm gonna follow up with Dan. 'Cause I did mean to ask him that last
Yeah.
night. Sidetracked.
And they might prefer a brand new building.
And we thought initially, we thought they jump on the fact that the fire hall was being built. We thought they were gonna want to be over there.
But somebody else was on the board at that time.
Well, and actually, if I recall, at that time, we didn't own the property yet, and there was a lot of concern about when it was actually going to be built. Because remember, somebody said 10 years, there was a lot of concern about when.
NTO still had the property.
Yeah, so I feel like I remember that they decided to just renovate that building because then it could happen immediately as opposed to. We had no tender, we didn't have the land, there was nothing to say that it was going to happen anytime soon, whereas now. We're preparing,
It's
like,
already improved.
tenders posted, yes.
Yeah. I mean, it has lots of implications. We'd have to go back out to
Yeah.
tender again, which is a bit of a problem, but
But perhaps they would be inclined to have a brand new building, like someone said.
okay, I'll follow up on that one. Item 10, tri-council meeting from last night. Do we need to replay or relive anything from last night? Any key items that we want to talk about?
So the library build, Mayor Hope said it's a dream at this point in time. But we're discussing it almost every meeting.
Yeah, and what I said when I came in was, I don't understand. I don't understand why Burks Falls are saying it's, well, right off the bat, they're potentially giving the property. They've given notice to the library board, they potentially are giving the property. I assume they're giving the property. So,
In lieu of funds,
eh?
in lieu of funds. It's not like they're not gifting the.
That's right.
Yes.
But I don't understand why we need to, like, I don't know if we have, if I'm just gonna speculate, Armour Township has access to the money we spoke up about. Burks Falls, they're not buying the land. They have the land. All they have to do is say, make it available. If we sit on it for 3 to 5 or longer, why are we doing that? Burks Falls, they're not giving any more money. They're not giving anything other than the land. Just give the land and people could start, hey, there's funding if we're available. Like if like right now, if Armour gave $500,000 and somebody will match it, where are you gonna put it? Well, in principle, it's gonna go there. But I mean, if it was done, the deal been like, sever the land, make it available, and let Armour proceed with looking for funding. It's not costing Burks Falls any more money.
So last week in the Burks Falls meeting, they had a motion in principle or not a motion, something in principle. A
Resolution.
resolution in principle, but they would not give a dollar value because they said today's dollar value would be different than potentially when we were actually building. So they couldn't give a dollar value. So could they not? We did talk about this. We did talk about coming up with a library agreement, but maybe as soon as that is done, the land actually being moved into the 3 names. Would that not be beneficial? So that, like, we're not saying we'll give 500,000 today, but in 5 years, we're gonna give 500,000 plus interest. Whereas they're saying we're gonna give the land at whatever value it is when we finally give it to you. Well,
My point, my statement to that is Armour has contributed $500,000 of today's dollars. We're not giving you any more than $500,000, but in 5 years' dollars, it's equivalent to 580,000. Like that's the same nonsense that Burks Falls are doing. The value, the value of the dollar
Mhm.
has changed.
so ideally, I think, and I can agree that we do need a new agreement before anything is changing. But I think as soon as an agreement is made, the land needs to be put in Armour, Ryerson, Berks Falls at a value that day, not a value maybe one day when we do it. And then once the land belongs to all three, we can actually get grants and whatnot to build something on it.
But that's my point. There's the only thing that's stopping us from getting grants is the land's not on our
So
property.
that's what needs to happen. We need the land to be put.
Yeah, there's no reason why Brooks Falls does not make it available. In principle, it's the best they can come up with is in principle, just like. We can't fundraise. We have our money. Somebody's not gonna match us for the value of the land, or maybe they will, but they're not gonna match us. We'll give you, if you're putting in 2 acres, we'll give you 2 acres. You know what I'm getting at is we have a dollar value. People will match a dollar value.
So
Maybe they'll match the value of the land. I don't know, but if it's not been done, just do it. Just give the land.
So this is a fact-finding question. It was certainly not a suggestion. I'm just looking for information. Is it possible, we have a resolution that says we will give you $500,000. Is it possible to say, if you do not do a severance and by December 31st, 2024, we will be withdrawing our resolution for $500,000 or our contribution to the build?
Well, the truth is we could withdraw the resolution anytime.
Because unfortunately, if another piece of property became available, at this point, we're invested in that, or we've committed to that piece of land, right? If another property became available, we can't make it our library because we've already agreed to spend $500,000 somewhere else.
So the biggest problem with the current agreement, and one of the reasons we pulled out of the agreements, was it's silent on capital plans.
Mhm.
So it's great with operational, it's easy. You pick a number, this percentage, we'll split it, and we don't really argue too much. The odd line item, but they were not. But if we can agree on how the ownership model would work, similar to what we did with the fire hall, then it's a different conversation. So let's just say the split is 40-40-20, 40 us, 40 Berks Falls, 20 Ryerson. And then we say, that's the investment where those have to contribute. And that's the ownership you have in the building. And the building includes the land. So everything gets put into the same pocket and you just say, the total value of that property is $2 million and 40% of that belongs to Armour. That's the way it should work. But until we get that agreement in place, we can't even have that discussion.
And the other piece is that if I believe that I read somewhere, or we were told the value of the land was 117,000. So for you if your contribution is 40%, easy math, ours is 50, or 500,000. So that would make theirs also 500,000 if it's an equal share. So then minus the 117 or 2/3 of 117, but we need that hard and fast number so we know what their contribution needs to be.
Yeah.
You know?
I believe last night it was also mentioned that the discussions around the site works, which was
That's.
it was included in the value of
The
the
piles.
like the site works, the prep work, because what didn't they say it looks like $300,000 worth of site work?
$1,000 worth of site work.
And it was questioned last night and he said, and the mayor said that it was included in the
Yeah,
value of the property.
because realistically, our project, the building project includes a foundation. Those piles are a foundation.
But
I knew that was gonna be
but
an
if a
argument.
foundation is not part of the land, when I buy land, I don't buy it with a
The
foundation.
building,
You want to build, you need that.
Yeah, absolutely, but you buy the land separately from the foundation. Like, we're not gonna pay $300,000 for the foundation and get the land with it.
no, but there's no prep work. The prep work, people are using the helical piles as prep work. That's part of the building. That's
Okay.
instead of a basement.
Okay.
That's where that's coming from. At Berks Falls meeting, Ashley questioned when they were talking about that. And Ashley said, will we still maintain titleship to the land? And the wishy-washy answer to me was yes. Like, you heard her ask that.
So-
you know?
My
Yeah.
takeaway was that it still had to be discussed. This was from, you mean last week's meeting, not last night, right?
Right.
Yeah, so my takeaway was that it still had to be discussed, but they would at very least own their percentage. Like if they own 40% of the building, they would own 40% of the land as well.
Okay,
Not that we would lease the land, like they would continue to own it and we would own the building.
I got lost in the answer and it was like, okay. While we're still talking library parts, I want us to pass a resolution tonight that we give back the library, we want to give back the library board's
Donation.
Contribution.
contribution. I think it was, Ally said it was like 67, something. I wanted to do it last night. I wanted 3 municipalities to do that. So that it's a done deal. So if we do it tonight and send it to the other 2 municipalities and the library board, Berks Falls will see it for their next meeting, Ryerson will see it for their next meeting, and both of those meetings are prior to the library board.
I believe, yeah, so it was 25,000, right? So it was their quarter of 25,000, correct?
Something along.
25% of the $25,000.
67, 6779, 7.77.
What was the date of that?
Month ago.
I don't have a specific date. This is just.
Wasn't that at a tri-council? It was for the,
The total costs have been 27,119.09, was split in even shares of 25%. So there was 27,3481, which was 25% share of the Tulloch plan of survey. And then 4,044.96 was 25% share of soil engineers.
The survey and geological.
The 2021 Armour expensed the Tulloch building assessment, 2024 Armour expensed for the Tulloch building assessment. Oh, sorry. Yeah, 2021 4273.93 for Tulloch for building assessment for 108 Ontario Street. Oh, that was, never mind. Sorry. There's a whole lot of history asked.
So
next to it.
779.77,
Correct.
and that,
That was Armour's share. And everybody was split evenly, 25%. So yes, same number.
and that was for the new library build consisting of the survey and the geological study.
Yeah, those are 2-day costs for the new library project.
I would word it all costs towards the new library program, whatever it's
Library,
how you word it is.
I would say for site planning for the new library project.
It was originally the library board thought they were paying for the geological study. Because it was $12,000 and we donated $12,500. Allison said it all had to be divided, all the bills had to be equally divided. I want that given back
do you want me to drop that now?
before the night's out.
Yeah.
When we're having our coffee break.
I can do that.
Anything else from tri-council?
So Nevis is available before she wasn't on the screen, so I'm wondering if she wants to say something.
Any comments, Davis, while we've got you here on last night's meeting or anything else?
Good evening. Thank you. No, I think that we are on the right path. It's going to be a slow process, but the most important thing is to draft an agreement between the 3 municipalities as to what their intent is, how they want to fund this project, and what monies they are able to contribute towards the project. And obviously, I don't know if it will have to be at the level of this subcommittee, and then meet later on with the library board. But at this point, the library board, it has very little to say. I think it's more the municipalities that have to draft the agreement and decide amongst themselves how they would like to go ahead with the library project.
Read.
Dave, there's something in the chat.
Oh, that was from the start of the meeting.
Okay. So at risk of going in circles, we have said that we need a commitment from all the other municipalities. And we don't have any, or we don't have one from Berks Falls.
We don't have a monetary value of their property. So I think, again, the agreement's gonna force that out, because if we get into a 40-40-20 split and we say, okay, we're giving 500, and if that means Ryerson has to give 250 and Berks Falls has got to give 500. And if they come back and say, okay, we're gonna give you the property and we're going to spend $300,000 getting it up to the standard that was in the Tulloch report, they pretty much covered their cost, and that's fair ball. They've put in
Okay.
contributions, so. But can't really have that discussion until
We haven't
we
agreed.
get the.
And at risk as well of making this even more muddy. Is there value in, I know, Sprucedale, it gives us like a contribution.
Yeah.
Is there value in approaching Sprucedale for ownership? To see if they would like part ownership?
I did I looked at that, I was gonna pursue that 100%. Look at the numbers of,
Usership?
yeah,
Okay.
it's not what it used to be. So I'll draw that back into my own thoughts, because it used to be a lot higher than that. At one point, like it was, I agree. I felt Armour Township ratepayers were subsidizing because of McMurray. And so the reason I was gonna go at it was McMurray Monteith are literally giving no tax dollars to the library, not a cent. It's government funding. If they want to put it towards the library, here's your money.
Okay.
They're only giving what they're given to the library. It can only be used for a library. And they used to go to Perry Township. Perry Township said, you are using our library freely the same as everybody else. We want you to pay your share. And they said, we're not gonna pay our share. So they didn't give their $1,200 to Perry Township. Hart Mulligan came, or no, Merv Mulligan came to the library board and said, we have $1,200. The government is giving it to us if we can send our ratepayers somewhere. Do you want it? So he said, sure. $1,200 was $1,200. It's still a good deal for us at the library board. The numbers, the user numbers are way down to what they were when they first started using our library. But I'm still back onto the point where it's not costing McMurray Monteith a cent right now. They're not giving any money. They're giving the money that is funded. Like we get funding, Armour, Ryerson, and Berks Falls, we all get funding, and it goes directly to Nieves. Because McMurray Monteith doesn't have a library, they get cut a check. And they said, this is yours if you want to put it towards the use of a library.
So you don't think they would entertain if they were offered ownership of it, not just permission to use, but 10% ownership or?
So the conversation was at the time, Armour, Ryerson, and Berks Falls didn't want to they did not want to make a new library agreement. Right now, it's a 3-way agreement. They didn't want to entertain with McMurray Monteith participating slightly. They wanted to just take the contribution and say thank you. I look at it as we were subsidized, our ratepayers, I don't have the numbers that I'm referring to are 8 years ago, 10 years ago. We were subsidizing McMurray Monteith. So enough that it bothered me, but I was outvoted. We were just taking them as is. So they sit on our board, but they're a non-voting member.
Would there be value in reaching out to, I'm asking permission, I'm not like fact finding. Would there be value in, I think you've already told me no, but to reaching out to McMurray Monteith or their council to see if they would be interested in a 10% ownership or.
And now's a perfect time.
That's the thing, it's, we didn't want to change a tri agreement before, but now it's not a tri agreement, it could be.
I think the real question there is does McMurray Monteith want to be built into a new agreement in a greater extent than what it is right now? And it wouldn't be just Berks Falls, Armour, and Ryerson's, Union Public Library. If that's the conversation we're gonna have, then probably the time to start that is now.
I would, yeah, as opposed to trying to recreate it.
Put yourself in their chair and be on their council. Do I want a part in a building and a cost
I
of
absolutely.
10%
Or
on a
5%.
multi-million? The answer would be no.
But I want my ratepayers to have access to a library. So my answer is
They
yes.
have access to the library. They've donated $1,200. We've given them access to our library.
But they had that with Perry and Perry has told them no.
No, because Perry wanted more money. I can argue the fact that it's not costing McMurray Monteith a cent. They're just giving them, they're just
Just pass on.
passing them $1,200 on to Nieves.
Ryerson, or sorry, not Ryerson, beg your pardon, McMurray Monteith residents allowed to borrow books from our library.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they donate
Members.
$1,200. So if you do the math, like, so if somebody comes up, and I don't know the numbers, but these might be hypothetical. An Armour ratepayer, it costs $25 per ratepayer to get a library card. If you're an outside resident, and don't, Nieves will get mad, but
I would like, yeah.
I'm just using hypotheticals. Somebody that's just visiting at a cottage can join the library. They're an outside member and it's $35. So they pay a little bit more. McMurray Monteith don't pay the they're not a visitor. They get a library card.
But so I do not mean this. I completely believe in our library. I feel like you know that, absolutely, Nevis. But why don't we give $1,200 a year and say, enjoy your new building? Thanks for allowing us this privilege. Here's our $1,200.
So there's
Because it's a service we're providing.
So McMurray Monteith needs to do the same.
and it's
But I don't have my sheet with me, but their numbers are minimal now,
Okay.
right now. A lot of their ratepayers use. I believe somebody said a lot of the ratepayers now are going back to Perry Township as a visitor. Or they go to Huntsville because they're going to Huntsville anyway. So they use the Huntsville library. So it's not, at one point, it was a big influx of coming to Burke's
Okay.
Falls Library. It's not that bad now.
Can we invite them? Can we offer them and say, hey, would you like to own 5 or 10% of a new library?
Or then, you know what, I'm not even, before there was a new library, I was willing to give them the vote if they would give us some money, because I mean, their member gets to sit, but she can't vote. She has lots of good information that she shares. But we don't care enough that you can vote.
Well, and she might the feedback from her ratepayers might be that we're all done. Okay.
So there's a bigger question here. And one of the reasons that we want the subcommittees to be able to do the work they need to do, why shouldn't somebody in McMurray Monteith have a library card that gets them into Perry, Emsdale, Kearney, Sundridge? Why do we have these little pockets where if you're in Burke's Falls, you go to the Burke's Falls Library? Why can't we have an Almagwin library card and work together as a group?
But if that was the
Bigger
case,
discussion,
McMurray Monteith would need to be attached to something.
or maybe they'd like their own library. Like, why wouldn't Sprucedale have their own little 2,000 square foot library? And Burke's Falls has one, like,
Because it would cost a lot more than $1,200 a year.
right. But so I think we're stuck in what has happened in the past, and we need to start looking at.
And I think that's part of what my point is. We were a try. So now the try is meeting to discuss the library, and the try is meeting to discuss the fire, and the try will meet to discuss the arena. And maybe it doesn't, maybe it
We
needs
need
to
to
try
see-
for fire
Still need to be able to think bigger,
more regionally, yes.
just in case, and because that the history of the McMurray thing is. It was basically a personality clash, and they didn't want to give the money to Perry, so they gave it to Burke's Falls instead.
So, and
That's really not good.
we might have people that would, or I don't know, but municipalities that would be more than willing to be part of our arena, right? That don't have an indoor arena.
So, and there's another good subject. We've got
Yes.
3 arenas that are all gonna die at the same time. Who's looking at the 20-year plan and
So-
thinking, what are we gonna do across?
When the ice pad was done, everybody was asked and nobody came forward.
Nobody came forward.
So,
However, people came forward as groups of people and fundraised.
mhm.
That's how it got built.
we have a somewhat of a regional fire. We have 3 municipalities that don't have their own fire that now have like, as a try, right? I'm just saying all of our resources don't need to have the same makeup of the same 3 municipalities. Like you said, we have three people that are going to be retiring arenas at the same time. We won't be just going, oh, our try will do this and your try will do that. And we will very likely be all working together. So we've got a great agreement for the fire, which we needed because everybody else has their own fire. Still, like Perry has one, you know what I mean? But we know there's places that don't have library. Let's invite them. They can say no. Let's invite them for the all-night one.
Discussion. I'm gonna let Mavis has had her hand up for a bit, so.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that I would like to make clear. Yes, Dorothy, we actually did approach McMurray Monteith about 8 years ago. We made a presentation to their council and proposed that they contribute more than the grant money that they get from the government. And it was turned down by their council only because, and this goes to the question of Rod, at the moment, 92 people are active members from McMurray Monteith that hold an active library card. So to them, that is not a justification for the money that they will need to budget in the future if they wanted to increase their contribution. A lot of their residents go to Huntsville either for work or for shopping, and they have found in a survey that many of them hold a library card in Huntsville. They're willing to pay for it in Huntsville only because they do all their businesses in Huntsville, and for them to come from Huntsville to Berks Falls to the library and then home to McMurray Monteith, it was just is not practical. So that answers that question. And then the 92 active residents from McMurray Monteith, and they do give us $3,000 every year. That is money that has no strings attached, other than, but ethically we will use it for library and library services. And we will not turn away any resident from Sprucedale.
May I ask how many people from Armour hold library cards?
One moment.
Thank you. This is brilliant. She does. I didn't even give you a heads up that this question was coming.
488.
If my whole report, normally when the sheets that I usually give, Jar, colored sheet gives us the usage.
It was too late. We didn't include it in the agenda.
I know,
So McMurray giving us 3,000 is fantastic because at $25 a person, it would cost 2,300. However,
Exactly.
at $25 a person for Armour, it would be $12,000 a year. We contribute a little bit more than
that's right.
$12,000 a year.
But it's a service we provide, same as we put money into the library, we put money into the fire hall, it's a service.
Yes.
That's right. That's right.
I would
And-
like to invite them.
There's no reason why we can't chat, because like Niamh said, that was 2 terms of council ago, and they have a new
They
person.
might decline, but they might be like, wonderful, we've wanted to own 10% of a library for the last 7.5 years.
Correct. Yes. And I think they may be more willing to
No,
join once the new building is built, that they will be more willing to join the library in a more active capacity.
Okay, so I think this is all good discussion, and I think it's discussion that belongs at the subcommittee level.
Yeah.
Because we have to get the agreement figured out before
Absolutely.
December 31st. Otherwise, we've got bigger problems.
I need,
So focus on that, keeping these ideas in mind for the future as well.
I need to circle back to your proposed resolution. Is it Armour doing the refund of 6,779, or are we splitting that by 3?
That's split by 3.
No, we're,
Farmer's portion, I mean.
No,
I wanna give it all back.
but it
I
would
can't
be,
give any of it back unless the three agree.
yeah, so 3 municipalities together as a total would owe 67.79 because we are like, it was divided by 4 and now it's divided by 3.
Okay.
So
that's
the
all-
6,700 has to be divided by 3.
Gotcha.
Okay.
That's what I just need clarification. But
Want to leave it till after the break? 'Cause I
I
was-
do.
Okay, any other reports or any other comments for council? I'm afraid to ask.
It was quick. Sure, you wouldn't let me talk?
Oh, I'm ready to gag you now.
I think what we're gonna do, we'll take our break now and then we'll get into the correspondence and unfinished business. So break until 8:15 and then we'll come back online.
If Charlene gets the agenda for the.
And we do have a new resolution to cover up our discussion around the library. It's already been moved, actually. Whereas the Berks Falls Armour Ryerson Union Public Library Board has contributed the sum of $6,779.77 toward the cost of the survey and geological study related to the new library, and whereas the Township of Armour acknowledges the importance of supporting the development of public library facilities in the region and the contributions made by the library board for the successful progression of the new library project. Now therefore be it resolved that the Council of Township of Armour agrees to refund the Berks Falls Armour Ryerson Union Public Library the amount of $6,779.77 as a reimbursement for their financial contribution to the survey and geological study. Be it further resolved, the balance owing of $6,779.77 be split as follows. Township of Armour will contribute $2,259.93. Village of Berks Falls will contribute $2,259.92. And Township of Ryerson will contribute $2,259.92. Further resolved that the necessary funds be allocated from the respective budgets of each municipality for this refund and the appropriate actions be taken to ensure payment is made promptly. And it has been moved by Rod. Jerry second. Okay. Any other comments, discussions on that one?
I just wanted to ask about McMurray. I'm kidding.
All those in favor? Carried. Okay,
Eat your licorice.
now we are into correspondence and a few resolutions along the way. Item number 11, Council Township of Armour. Supports the municipality of Chatham, Kent, the town of Orangeville, and the Federation of Ontario Cottages Association, and urges the Ontario government to withdraw Bill 5 in its entirety. Furthermore, that the Council of the Township of Armour opposes the plan to amend and ultimately repeal the Endangered Species Act, opposes the proposed new Species Conservation Act, and the proposed amendments to the Mining Act, as the provisions in Bill 5 would reduce environmental protections or override municipal planning authority.
Yes.
Yeah, Rod, Jerry. Comments?
There's more and more, like, every time I had this wrote down to bring it up, but it was like, Bill 5 is covering a lot of stuff that is like, it has nothing to do with the Endangered Species Act, but it's like, then somebody says it's Bill 5, it's like, well, you freaking sneaky buggers.
Yeah,
Like,
like a huge omnibus bill where everything's under one.
well, there's a pile of stuff on there that affects a lot of people.
Okay, all those in favor? We'll support Chatham, Kent and FOCA.
That's where you blanket everything and then just fix it as it comes.
Yeah, as you start running into problems and.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Item 12, Council Township of Armour supports FONUM and asks the Minister of Health to permit FONUM to have an equal role in discussions concerning the funding review of the public health mandated programs. Mover. Dorsey. Seconder. Rod. Okay. Other comments, all those in favor? And that's carried. Moving right along, item 13, Council Township of Armour supports Fonum and requests that the province of Ontario commit phasing in $100 million policing grant for the next 3 years for the 157 northern communities. After the third year, the fund will increase by the minimum of the annual consumer price. Each community should receive a base amount of $60,000 with the remaining funds allocated based on population. The formula's in under item 13 in your agenda package.
So please excuse my ignorance. We're asking that the government pay this as opposed to it coming from municipalities? Is that?
Yeah, so they're trying, I think the issue is the way the OPP funding has gone up, increased exponentially. They're just saying that come up with a formula that is essentially fair to the northern communities.
Okay.
This is what they came up with. So can I get a mover? Sure. So I heard Jerry. Okay, all those in favor?
Jerry did that on purpose. He made me eat the licorice so I couldn't tell you.
Oh, you eat licorice, it's so good. See how the meeting's moving along now?
I'm gonna have a plate full of licorice next time I come in.
You know, Jerry, you get no flowers.
Oh, dear.
Okay, another Fonum resolution, item 14 in your package. The Council Township of Armour supports Fonum and requests that the province of Ontario commit to undertaking with the Association of Municipalities of Ontario and the Federation of Northern Ontario Municipalities a comprehensive social and economic prosperity review to promote the stability and sustainability of municipal finances across Ontario.
You passed all these Fonum resolutions last week, 2 weeks ago.
At Fonum. Yeah, it's all the same ones.
They're all part of your agenda package.
Yep. A mover.
Sure. Still no harm in doing it again.
Do it again.
He literally waited for me to take a bite.
Get Dorothy in a second. All those in favor? One more, Fonum one, I think.
Yep.
Council Township of Armour supports Fonum and requests that the province amend Ontario Regulation 391.21 blue box so that producers are responsible for the end of life management of recycling products from all sources, including industrial, commercial, and institutional ICI properties. A big issue. Mover,
Sure.
seconder. Okay. Just put your hand over his mouth or something. All those in favor? That's carried. Alrighty, then the rest is media releases around the tariffs, the monthly jobs report. Always interesting reading. You can take the 407 free on the most eastern part of the 407, which is not very helpful. Especially for us up here. Protect Ontario by building faster and smarter act. And policing, Muskoka, Algonquin healthcare, there's nothing much of an update there. The rest, next is the OPP delegation request. So this is item 22.
I did receive an update from Erica at Perry this afternoon, indicating that our request is going to the June 11th Police Services Board meeting. They're going to be addressing it as like an Omegwin tourist season and address the concerns with monitoring traffic and addressing our concerns, as well as giving them an invitation to Heritage Day. So we'll have an update after that.
Okay, so now if we want to talk to Doug, essentially we go through the board. Yeah. Question.
Sorry.
Talk with your mouth full.
Love licorice. This came up because, so this is a follow-up question, not regarding the OPP. Where are we at with ordering the sign?
What sign?
The sign for, Katrine for the safety zone, because we talked about OPP because we talked about being able to give them the information regarding the speeds. So but we
Dave Creaser's working on that, I believe.
Okay, it's in motion? Yeah, okay.
We have the community safety zone signs.
Sorry, the speed sign, like the one that tells you how fast you're going.
The radar sign, yeah.
Thank you.
He's working on it.
He's working on it. Thank you so much.
So I had a call from somebody who was related to somebody who lived near Halcyon Park, and they were basically the same complaints that we're getting in Katrine. I don't know if you guys have heard this. I'll ask Wendy when she gets back, but same sorts of things. It's golf carts, ATVs. Can we put up a speed bump along that stretch because it's a narrow part of road? And there is a watch for children sign, but it's not very useful because it's about 15 feet back from the road. And so I don't know if you guys have heard similar complaints from constituents about that area at Pickerel and Jack Lake Road right at the end.
I don't want to say I'm less concerned or like, I'm far more concerned with the excessive speed than the quads or
Yeah.
golf carts. No, they shouldn't be on the road. They're not road legal. Like, I appreciate all of those things, but we have to address the speed. The people are going.
The speed, when Keith put the counter out, it gives the speed,
Mhm.
and there was very few speeders.
See, he said the average speed is 60 kilometers per hour. And it's a posted 40.
I didn't remember that. I remember him saying there was very few speeders.
I think the only one was a motorcycle.
No, the only one that went above 100 was a motorcycle.
Anyway, Wendy, just for what your comment was, Wendy has commented the same thing. Like when I said it looks like Katrina's just one big campground, she said they have the same issues up there.
Because there is a new campground there, right? Just up from, it's not far from the lake. I can't remember the name of it. It's just before you get to where Halcyon Beach is.
It was Dwayne's Pine Ridge. It was always right.
That was always Russ Haven.
Yeah.
Oh, it's right there before, okay, because the name's changed then.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Looks like-
Wendy did say, but I think the biggest issue is speeding is people look like they're going fast when the road's covered and people walking. There's the space for a car to go. That's like, I think the biggest problem is the public. Scooters, golf carts, four-wheelers, lack of knowing it is actually a road. But like the one place that John Sutton said, he said, like the B&Bs, he said, it's full of them. He said, it's just full of people. And then when we were talking, there had to have been 12 people and they were walking shoulder to shoulder. They were going to the store or the beach. I don't know where they were going, but it was just, they were shoulder to shoulder the whole time Sutton and I were talking. There was no cars showed up, but I mean, that was just how they hit the road.
Absolutely agreed, but I wouldn't want somebody to not expect shoulder to shoulder. Not, yes, don't walk like that on the road. Absolutely. But I don't want them to be hit by a car doing 60 because the car didn't know to anticipate people over the hill and the people didn't know to anticipate,
Yeah.
So we need a very clear incentive to slow down.
I think we need enforcement. We've tried speed bumps. We've tried slower speeds. If it's not enforced, who cares? Really?
Well, I think that sign's extremely effective, the one down the road in front of the school.
Definitely make
Sure it is. And it's enforced. You know how often there's a cop sitting there?
Every day.
So, but
They're making a killing lately, like every day I've been into Tim Hortons, they've got somebody.
Yeah.
In the last couple of weeks.
but I mean, maybe they'll enforce it, maybe they won't. I think it's a very good visual. And then when you do get pulled over, there's no excuse. It was. flashed at you.
Dorothy, you're 100% right. When I go over the hill. And as soon as I see that flashing light, I'm doing more than I'm supposed to.
He's doing 40 kilometers per hour.
I get that, but when I come into town, so Danette pointed out to me, there was somebody that works with Danette, their kid got a ticket. At the laundromat for 60 kilometers, it's 40 there.
Yeah.
And that's the scary part because I never slowed down until the bridge. And I'm not doing highway speed, but I never literally thought it was in town till they got to the bridge.
To get to the bridge, yeah.
That's where, like, I like the idea of this radar sign.
Oh,
You know, like-
I believe we're gonna, if you're gonna spend money,
And the fact.
make it visual. I mean, and it's not, everybody's gonna see, holy cow, who's doing that? Like it's, people are gonna see this, people that are doing that. It's a mind thing. I'm, like I said, I go into town, I never used to slow down till I went past Land O'Lakes. Well, now you got told you're going too fast.
So the person that called you, Rod, would they like more signage?
That she mentioned signs, but she said it was. She's got two young kids and she said that people were just driving too fast. But it was kind of similar to what you hear at Doe Lake, is that people treat the whole thing like it's a park. So they're going down to Halcyon Park, they're staying at the trailer park and they just wander across, to your point, they just wander across the road. They're not really paying attention to the fact that they're on a road.
Mhm.
And then a motorcycle goes flying by or people just aren't watching. So if we had the sign there, it would help. But I think Doug's group should maybe do some education down there around, did you know that golf carts are not allowed on the roads? Because they probably don't know that.
See, that's what I thought.
The Katrine
I
side?
thought we were gonna print off some literature to give to the campgrounds, or I thought it was you had said, we'll do some awareness stuff. Like,
I had a posting on social media about it and it was really well received.
Yeah, I saw that one.
Training.
Let's do it at the KCC and on this sign. Just a few, you know, community safety zones, 40 kilometers per hour. Reminder, like,
but these are, the streets are regulated by the Highway Traffic Act. You need a driver's license to ride a vehicle. You need insurance to have a vehicle. And certain vehicles are not allowed on
Yeah,
licensed roads.
can that be on the sign?
And if
Reminders
it's
of
an
golf carts on the roads?
not only that, if it's an ATV, it's a half of the posted speed limit.
Yeah, that,
People don't know that.
no.
If it's a licensed ATV, yeah.
But you have comments too, is Dan's on the police board?
Mhm.
And that for him to address
yeah.
directly with you.
Is that how we do this now? We go through our rep
Yep.
essentially.
Yep.
Well,
And
it
then,
could be worthwhile to throw a note through saying if they can come up with a few of those, it'd be nice on OPP letterhead, or at least to have the
Yeah.
OPP affixed. If they can prepare a design for a one pager, these are the rules that we see being frequently broken, and then at the bottom of that, expect enforcement summer 2025. If Armour prints out a pile of them,
I like that. I like that idea.
go to the campgrounds
The
around the
campgrounds.
lake.
So
I
I,
mean, then, I mean, they don't have to hand them out. If they just put it on the door, if somebody goes in the store, like,
Mhm.
it's been this way for ever.
Forever.
Yeah, like John Sutton said, he said, as long as he can remember, it was just once people got to own golf carts, he said they were ripping around the road because you could.
Yeah.
And the day that I did the roof just across from John Sutton's, the whole family went by. There was the mom and the dad in a four-wheeler. There was one of those little kid-size four-wheelers. And then the second kid had a mini bike, and none of them were wearing helmets.
Yeah.
They were just, they were going fast. They were just tagging along, going from point A to point B. But it's like, you people don't have any idea.
a ratepayer just reached out about the signs on the river, but I believe they were done in the fall, correct?
Yep.
The no wakes. But if we could even have that on a KCC sign or here, like reminder, no wake on the river.
like the digital sign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like,
Yeah.
because
And I think right now we limit how many we can have. We're limited as to how many we can have and with the events going on. But yeah, I'll mention that to Ashton.
just because you might not know otherwise, like, until you see a sign, right? And they're few and far between.
I think
Whereas this, you're at the liquor store and you're like, oh yeah, by the way.
But we've also got our newsletter to go out too with our tax billing, so we can put a blurb in there.
Yeah. Okay. Item 22, anything else we need? That's just a discussion item, correct? If no
No, just-
resolution related to that, okay. Item 23, Cogeco.
Yeah, that's a quick one.
Okay.
So based on the comment from Rod of, you see a lot happening on the east side of Highway 11. not a lot on the west side of Highway 11. I had reached out asking if we could get an expanded map that showed projects to the west. The response, as is indicated on the email, is that the contract that Cogeco has currently is for that chunk of is for the east side of Highway 11. Now, there's 2 or 3 projects listed in the graphic that you have here, which is explained in the email. The Ryerson Magnetawan side of Highway 11 was a completely different part of the project under the provincial side. So he didn't seem at that point that he'd be able to provide information on that. But I would presume that the Highway 11 was the dividing line. I've been trying to get access to the online map so that I could see what the buildup would look like, but
It's a little hard to read that.
was it black on your screen?
Wherever you, if you can see green.
Yeah.
We scan, Jerry?
It's showing up. It's good. I mean,
Green on black.
there you go, Jerry.
The first time I looked at it, I was like, so they're only doing the Highway 11 corridor? Doesn't make a ton of sense. But
Yeah, right. Hasn't that been
Are they
done?
running cable?
Yeah.
did you see this? You were asking about the Cogeco? You saw it? Oh, okay, perfect.
We're on the road, so I was curious what they were doing.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so, yeah, not a problem. That's the HSIP, the high-speed internet project. And that's rolling out all over the province. And I believe it was Infrastructure Ontario that's moving a lot of that forward. So yeah, it was, it's nice to have these on the council agenda so that people see that's going on, because for our stretch of Northern Ontario, that's a huge bonus and certainly an upgrade over the the wireless. Don't get me wrong, that any internet's better than none, but
That'd be great.
that'll bring pretty much all of those areas up into to current times with internet speed. So big win.
It's good. And it's ongoing, like the project is moving.
Yep. Yeah, we're starting to get to get approvals coming forward. So Dave, like Charlene and I are able to review the permits as they come in. And we probably would be able to do that if we had an interpreter on all of the technology.
I don't even open them.
Yeah, the techno speak that comes through, but Dave is working with them.
It's all Dave Creaser level.
Yeah, he goes up to inspect and ensure that they're within certain distances to our within our shoulders. And so yeah, it's we had a pre-project meeting, seemed to go very smoothly. And we've had no complaints from Dave. So I think as far as Char and I is concerned, no news is good news.
Yeah, that's
So
good.
they going in ground or?
I think it's gonna be a mixture based on the terrain, and I mean, we have varied terrain, so they made the comment in saying they're gonna try and use existing infrastructure wherever possible. Historically, gaining access to those poles isn't the easiest thing in the world or the cheapest thing in the world. So where they can get away with putting it either in ground or directional boring it again in ground, then they'll do that.
Good. Okay, thanks for that, Dave. Item 24, this is the updated budget for the library. Speaking of the library, so we do have a resolution for this one. Assume this is based on the change in rent. Council Township of Armour approved the revised 2025 Brooks Falls Armour Ryerson Union Library budget in the net amount of $191,306, with the Township of Armour share being $71,950. Furthermore, rescind resolution number 57 dated February 25th, 2025. Get a mover. Rod moves.
This is just to discuss, right?
Yeah, seconder Dorothy. Okay.
It was
Discussion.
my understanding that we made the resolution because, well, we made it in February because the new lease was due December 31st. So we agreed to this amount with a 3% increase.
If the Brooks Falls changed it to 5%.
All he has to be able to pay the bills.
But I was under the understanding okay, whatever. Okay.
So when we passed, because we knew this might come back, right?
Yeah.
Because Brooks Falls was talking about putting an increase in, and we just decided we better get it passed based on the 3%, knowing that it's likely gonna come back, and this is it coming back, I guess.
So at what point is it Berks Falls' responsibility to eat the difference because they took 5 months to write a new lease and increased it by more than they have historically.
I think. So this was March 2025, and Ally was saying she didn't get it. So. We're a little behind. Ally didn't realize that
Well-
it was a revised budget.
But
So-
the March 2025 wasn't
Agreement
that.
was just signed the last library board meeting.
Well, the date of this budget is March 27th, 2025.
It's 2 months.
So actually it's May, it was agreed to in Berks Falls on May 20th, 2025,
The last week.
last week, yeah. Because the budget, it wasn't accepted, because it was originally at one point, I think it was a 30% increase and a 24% increase, so.
Realistically, you're right. They should not get it for this year. Realistically. When I have to make a presentation to the agricultural, on behalf of the Agricultural Society, I have to make it prior to October
Mhm.
for this year's budget. So they should not, they should, realistic, now she's got me going. They should not get away with this because we've already set our budgets. Nieves has already presented the library budget, and Berks Falls came back umpteen months later, thinking that they can just do it.
Well, yeah, so this is almost 6 months past the due date. I can't go to my tenants and say, oh, 6 months ago, I should have increased your rent. And now you owe me, now give me more money for the last 6 months plus the next 6 months.
And I agree with you 100% now that you're putting it in perspective like that. Do we want to raise shit? That's what is going to happen. Do we want to just, the library board, like realistically, the library board, they went over and over and over this, and I said, really has nothing to do with you. It has to do with the 3 municipalities. If Armour doesn't want to pay it, we will let them know. Under the grounds that it's now, I think we should say to them, no, it has to be, we agreed to 3%. It was agreed upon 3%. You can't. What were you gonna say, Dave?
What's the difference in price? We're at 188, $1,100.
You approved 70,763.
I thought we approved 188.
No, that 180 was the total, 180 something.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Pardon me. Okay. So we approved 70 and what is it now?
71.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind then.
But that's the principle of the thing. It's just, how do they get away with it?
Well, and how long is this lease?
5 years.
Okay, good. So at least we don't have to anticipate. Well, anyway, okay.
So the choice is, we make a point on this and we just defeat this, or we make sure that the new agreement has things like this taken care of. Because one of the things that's not, it's certainly not clear in the agreement how this kind of thing gets dealt with.
Mhm.
This is the date for when the budgets are, this is when rent has to be decided.
Well, hopefully we won't
I'll
pay
speak.
them rent for anything.
Yeah,
So if we look at it, so the rent has been going up 3% since, we only went back, we only went back to 2008. Is when it's been going up 3% annually since 2008. That's 17 years. That's 51%.
68.9.
If you add compounding,
Yes, yes.
right? So they've actually gone up over 60% in the last 17 years. We agreed to it. They're like, there was, so
3% is reasonable and fair.
a 5%, they just come up with a 5%. But next year is gonna be 25%. How do they get to come up with 25%? The reason is their math of, I don't have my papers, Dave, so I can't pull it, but so Sunridge pays X amount of rent, and their rent includes sewers, water, hydro, whatever. South River pays rent, and there includes certain facilities, like certain things. We pay less in rent, but we pay for those utilities out of the library budget. So Dennis has combined everybody and said, you need to pay more based on square footage of what rent is going. Taking it to one step further. Several libraries don't pay rent. Perry Sound doesn't, or Pawson doesn't pay rent. Perry doesn't pay rent. And Magneto doesn't pay rent.
One does.
Oh, yeah, you did say that. But somebody, Huntsville doesn't pay rent. So here's the point. Somebody said, yeah, but we're a tri agreement. But if one municipality can not charge rent, but 3 municipalities get together and pay rent, it shouldn't be increased because there's 3. And they shouldn't be allowed to increase it 25. I'm gonna argue this later in the year, but they shouldn't be allowed to bump it up to 25% because it was you had commented months ago or at some point. Rent increases is based on upgrades to the facility. The only upgrade that building has ever got in 31 years that I've been on the library board was the push button door. They don't have the right to go.
So, and
I'll bring that up later on. Dave talked me out of it, like, and it wasn't an issue for last night because that'll muddy the waters for everything. This will be a fight for next year's budget. They're wrong.
So, and I'm even more concerned because I think what I've read and can understand is that absolutely other municipalities that do pay rent, it includes utilities. The Armour Burkes Falls Ryerson Library, not only do they pay rent, they were given a 24% increase to make them level to rent with other people. But what they're forgetting is that they're also paying utilities for the upstairs space that does not pay rent. The seniors do not pay rent at all. It's free for them, but they're allowed to rent it out and keep the money they rent it out for, but they don't pay their own utilities. The library pays the seniors utilities, so the senior can rent it out at a profit because they don't pay rent.
Yeah, it's not logical.
That doesn't make sense to me.
So the water and sewers, so the water bill went up. Traditionally, the water bill has been 1 unit. I won't put a value out. It's just 1 unit. All of a sudden, it's gone up to 6 units. So they blame it on the library. Boy, the library has 2 washrooms that is open during business hours. How often, like, just put in perspective, the upstairs has a full-fledged kitchen, a dishwasher, a sink, double sinks, and 2 washrooms up there, but it's the library that's using more water.
The upstairs is also being utilized for a multitude of programs now.
Can I make a suggestion?
Dorothy needs licorice?
No. I would make a suggestion that a letter be drafted that outlines these concerns in very plain wording. And that letter be given to all partners and that the parties involved have the opportunity to respond to these, because I think these are valid questions. And I think a response is warranted. And I think that for the next however many meetings, we will have very similar conversations where these points get raised again. And to avoid continued circular discussion, we can pass a letter to go forward, to have the questions answered and deal with the situation directly. That's my 2 cents.
I agree.
The communication side of this is that we talk about these things here, we get frustrated, we get our, we drive these points home, but they never go any further. Right? So let's use process. Let's put the items down and ask for a response.
Well, and further, I would really like to request that if the seniors continue to get the space at 0 cost, that the library utilities become the seniors' responsibility while we're housed in that building.
Right, and we can put, it is our understanding that X, is this the case? And if so, our concerns are why? And we just move forward in that process. There's a paper trail that follows along behind.
Fantastic.
See, if you go back to the original build in the building, it was a Ontario grant, Burkes Falls, Armour, and Ryerson for the seniors.
Yes, so
Oh.
what is the rent for the basement going to?
So is this something you want to, I'm good to let this fly till fall. Is this something you want to take on
Well, I'm just
Do you
suggesting,
want to table that or do you want to defeat it? One or the other.
Well, this is about increasing the budget to cover off the library. This resolution is, we agree to go up $1,100 and cover the rent off for this year. I think what Dave's suggesting is we pass this resolution or we defeat it, either one. And we have a separate letter that says we have other concerns not related to this discussion. Anticipating what's gonna happen next year.
Yeah.
Budget.
and that can happen anytime.
Yep.
What I'm trying, forgive me, what I'm trying to avoid is whenever a library comment comes up in the agenda, that
Yeah.
we end off
Yeah.
on the far side of a rabbit trail. When we can answer these questions, we can follow a process to have these questions answered.
Well, absolutely, because we've already wrote a resolution for next year to commit to next year. But in it, we capped it at 5% increase and we already know it's a 24% increase. So,
No, don't cap it at 5, cap it at cost of living.
oh, we capped it. We did this when we made a resolution for next year. We did, is that what we did then, cost of living in the end?
Yeah, I think I can't.
Okay, either way, completely agree, Dave.
It's
Yes,
it's a
it's-
separate issue. It's a bunch of things that we can itemize and send over and through, whether it's through the subcommittee or directly to their,
So I'm gonna,
to the subcommittee.
I am personally gonna see to it. Trevor told me, he said, put some dye in the toilet. He said, if the dye is still in the tank in the morning, your toilet's not running. And I thought, good point. Well, I want to see that process.
Okay, so we saw the resolution on the table, moved by Rod, seconded by Dorothy. The Township of Armour share will go up to, excuse me, $71,950 from its current, whatever. All those in favor?
I'll vote for it.
Okay. Well, I could-
I was like, Gary, you were the reason I was not to argue with you. I put my hand up.
We will make those points to get specific answers on those specific
I
questions.
was prepared to go against it, but by making the letter, it probably
I think that's,
less of a problem.
That's the way to go about it, honestly, as opposed to beating the same conversation over and over and over.
Well, it's also kind of a choose your battle situation, right?
And I wouldn't want,
The things we want to get done to.
partners in a shared service, partners should be able to raise questions.
so partners in a shared service. And we talked about how we would be willing to help pay extra if it would get us what we need. And so then if we were then to say, but we won't pay $1,000
Yeah.
to cover this budget, it might be in bad taste.
Well, you're potentially scaring, to Dylan's point last night about the staff.
Mhm.
By now, okay, now it looks like they don't support the budget at all, even now, so. Anyway, we'll get our points to them and get our questions answered. Item 25, so this is the gas main on Pickerel and Jack Lake Roads. We have a staff report from Dave.
Mhm.
Summary from Dave, we have a resolution for this as well.
So quick overview, we have been working to, as everyone around the table knows, we've been trying to get our services to our industrial parks. The last major chunk of that was to work with Enbridge to get the gas from approximately Loft House currently, which is the end of the line, up to up to Pickerel and Jack Lake Road, the Oak Drive intersection there. So the main challenge for that has been that we don't have load limits we don't have load estimations for for any facilities that could go up there. So Enbridge has been has had difficulties in coming up with an estimated cost for us, because usually how it happens, like any other utility, there's going to be cost recovery based on new connections coming on down the line. We've asked them for years to treat this like the Field of Dreams. We want these services because we want the lots to be investment ready. And now we know we've sold those lots. However, it was our commitment in the MOUs as listed in the staff report to apply for the funding to get the services run out there. We've had that funding since 2022. And we went back to we went back to Enbridge a number of times saying, and I think I was as blunt as saying, I'm on a car lot, sell me a car. He said, well, you need to know what you need for the car. And I'm like, I need the car to go that way. And I mean, we haven't gone away and they've come up with a solution. And the solution is as listed. I will say that there is no cost recovery available. This is a municipally built project. So if we extend the line, the one I'm recommending is on the third page of this document, the red box with the yellow line that goes down to run the services from Loft House down to the intersection of Berrydale and Oak. That completes our what we said we were going to do in our memorandums of understanding when we sold the properties. The extra two options are upgrades. So the DRS system, as you see in item 2, that's the little gas fixture that's beside the Yonge Street Bridge. They would need to do some enhancements. Those enhancements for a cost of $20,000 would increase the load by approximately 380 or 395 homes. And of the other line reinforcement just before the Armstrong Bridge at a cost of $123,000 would increase by about 85, but it just makes the system stronger all the way down the line. My 2 cents, we're not sure what the property owner will want to do with that property. And in the event that they install, they put in an operation that warrants more gas, then those line upgrades can be discussed at that time. Now, that said, I have reached out to the property owners, hoping to hear back from them. If they decide to be a partner and move forward, we have 50% funding. We are not going to exhaust the funding amount that we have as listed in the report. We are coming in well under what we had originally proposed for a number of reasons that I can get into later if you want to learn more. But my recommendation for this is to proceed with option 1 and run the gas to that intersection.
If we're below costs, would it not be beneficial to just do 1, 2, and 3?
So herein lies my second. I don't believe a resolution is required for this. When I had a call with our rep from the NOHFC, and I had said originally we had included in that grant some site preparations for the Highway 11 Industrial Park to enhance the entrance, should we need an entrance enhanced to be able to get onto that property. I'm asking that we put I've asked her if they would entertain an amendment request to take those dollars and allow us to put an entrance in at the 520 park, which is undeveloped right now. We had 2017 estimates of, I believe, $280-ish thousand to punch a road in along the East Road Road Allowance. In speaking with our road supervisor, if we do a baby steps approach, the idea is get a truck with a float and earth movers parked on that site, so just create an entrance. But with the dollars that we have now, we could potentially put in something more serviceable, more long-term at 50 cents on the dollar. So we could do all 3. All 3 is not necessarily warranted based on what we have in the hopper for development. So
There's only one thing though, Dave, and that's if anybody wants gas out of them lines, you gotta do the others.
not necessarily. The capacity increases that they just put on to the town border station last year that they brought online increased the capacity such that the current limitations that were with our local manufacturers were reduced to the point of no.
But will it be enough capacity to do the top of the hill and do at the top end of town?
Although I don't have an exact number, I will say that the capacity increase of the replacement of that town border station was significant.
Okay.
I don't have the numbers, but at the end of the day, if the lines are run there and they need to increase the capacity.
Well, they just changed the regulator, different pressures, so.
Yeah, and well, so option 3, the $123,000 for the 75 meters of line replacement, that's actually replacing a chunk of main before the Armstrong Bridge. So if we decide we want to go options 1, 2, and 3, the financing that we take to cover half of those costs will come out of, that'll be borne by our ratepayers. And our obligations to get the park serviced, or our commitments to get the park serviced was to run that line out there. I'm happy with whichever way council wants to go. My thought is what completes the job is run the line out there, the line's available. I have also again reached out to, in those memorandums of understanding, it was recognized by all parties that, that the developer would be expected to have a share in the costs to extend services.
And if you get a developer and then he has money and grant money that he's pursuing, that could be added into that at that time too, so.
So
Yeah, okay.
we're still going field of dreams with
Yeah.
what we're running out there. The idea is, do we want the gold plated fences?
So you're suggesting doing that option one, but also assuming we get permission to do it, to beef up the entrance at
Right.
the Highway 520.
I think, because we have, because ultimately, I think it's strategic to have those services to that intersection because of the holding zones that we have across there.
Right.
It's, you can pick up and keep on going. And if we need some further reinforcements to the system, then we can do so at that time. That's a strategic cutoff to have that, and that could service future development. I think up here we have a park we've already entertained a number of meetings. And we have some more potentially coming down the line. I think the priority at that point is, if we're allowed, let's get that enhanced.
Spiffied up.
Mhm.
Okay.
Let's make it so we can get some trucks on there.
I'll read the resolution and if there's more questions for Dave. Staff report from CAO will be received and that council direct staff to enter into a municipally driven natural gas expansion agreement with Enbridge to extend the natural gas main along Pickerel and Jack Lake Road between Ontario Street and the intersection of Okie Drive and Berrydale Road at a cost of $437,000. Furthermore, council direct staff to secure the necessary financing to complete the project. Dorothy and Jerry. Any further questions for Dave? All those in favor? We have some gas.
So that will get us our agreement in place. If we're able to get the okay, I'll come back to council, because that will affect the financing that we're gonna be looking for. But the beautiful part about that is this can happen with an agreement in place in 2025.
Good news.
Yeah, long time
A
coming.
little bit of a surprise after waiting forever and ever.
It was one of those random emails. We have some updates. You have some time, always. Do you have my car?
Any more updates on some of the government property
Some of the.
John was looking after?
I haven't heard anything further at this point. I haven't got any further correspondence from the
Okay.
MTO.
Maybe a phone call would be in order?
A follow-up, I can make a note. I have the file sitting in my holder.
Oh, boy. Gotta get them properties back.
Next up is 26. So this was the local share trust account. This was kind of interesting and actually Ed's note is pretty succinct, makes sense. But did this come up at the meeting today?
I brought a copy and
Okay.
discussed it. I think everybody leaving the last clerks and treasurers meeting was in favor of pursuing kind of the trust concept. But I think Ed made some pretty poignant remarks. And it doesn't seem to me like there is an advisable way from it. And I did follow up saying, is there a way that we could, is there another way that we could achieve the outcome that we're looking for? I haven't heard back, but Ed's a busy guy, so.
Yeah.
I think at this point, it's a real big trust exercise for all of the partners.
So this is it. And so there hasn't been a local share meeting for a long time. I keep asking for one, but they haven't had one. And I'm curious as to, I guess at the district level, the district holds the money, so it's not that big a deal. But for us to have,
It's a lot of,
and today's way, it's a trust thing. Well, you've got 10 municipalities putting money away and then somebody says, well, I'm not happy with the direction the hospital's going. We're gonna take that reserve money and spend it on something else.
And Ed wasn't too sure we have the authority under the municipal act to do so.
To do it. Yeah, I get his points for sure. It makes sense. So I'm not sure how, at a provincial level, how they deal with this sort of thing, because these are all long-term projects. They're always,
If you had an agreement in place, it might be easier
yeah,
with the hospital.
with the hospital. I'll follow up on
And
that.
I think to Ed's point, you have to have the project has to be fully defined,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it has to be guaranteed to be moving forward.
I think it's a question for the hospital, not to even address directly with the province.
For sure. And it might be a good, they're trying to get a meeting set up through AMO at the AMO meeting in the summer with the Ministry of Health. And so that's a good point. Local share is always tricky because and it's big money. Okay, I'll check with back though, because I'm
Yeah.
curious about that one.
Yeah, safeguarding from potential future interests is
Yeah, and all it takes is, a change in council and change of direction and we're gonna go spend our money on a new pool or whatever.
Library.
New library, yeah. Okay, item 27, this is the bursary. So I'll read this in and then over to Shar for some further comments on her staff report. Council Township of Armour approved the establishment of an annual $500 bursary to be granted to a graduating student from a Megwin Highlands Secondary School in honor of the late Marty Corcoran, to recognize a student that resides in Armour Township who demonstrates community spirit, civic engagement, or an interest in trades, mechanics, and reflecting the life and values of Mr. Corcoran.
Sure.
Jerry. Okay. So a bit of background on this one, Shar.
So I was looking around and I see that there's a lot of municipalities in this area that offer that bursaries. I was actually looking at because Logan's a graduating student. The high school has a portal strictly for graduating students, and there's opportunities for different bursaries, and that's where I saw Sprucedale has one. And it was specifically for the kids or students that live within the municipality. And I thought, this would be a perfect opportunity for Armour to recognize one of the past counselors. I just set and put a $500 value to it because that's what other municipalities were doing. But I chatted with Rod Blakelock as I was drafting this, and it's not necessarily like a lot of them are. So the Sprucedale McMurrick Monteith, it's based on the student that has the highest mark that lives within that municipality. So that's not really a bursary. A bursary is for kids that need scholarships or for the ones that excel with grades.
Yeah.
But this gives us an opportunity, or council an opportunity, to receive these as applications. I didn't have it set up as do a submission or a writing, that would make it very difficult, because when you base it on bursaries, you're not necessarily dealing with students that are excelling in English or whatever. This is based on financial need.
Yeah.
It's not gearing specific to a certain study, you know what I mean? Like, because Marty was a bit of everything, right? He was a school bus driver, he was a mechanic, he was, involved in.
And a musician. He was on the Ed Sullivan Show.
Yes, musician, he was, politician, there were so many hats that Marty wore. And I think that this would be an opportunity for council, whether I get the high school to get the students to complete them, these applications, we bring them all to council reviews them, how you guys choose it, whether you draw the kid's name out of a hat, however.
Yeah.
But I think it's a great opportunity. I know that we already do the high school graduation donation, right, for 200, but council doesn't really have any input as to who that goes to. Right? And there's a lot of graduating students on an annual basis.
Years ago, we used to give money to the high school, but it had to be from an Armour Township resident, and the high school took that away. You can't do that.
Yeah.
So this is a way of getting around that.
Yeah.
I definitely think it should be by submission. They should submit something, and definitely not grades. Because like you said, you could have the top mark in A class, but not have the top mark overall, or.
Well, there's so many kids with IEPs too,
Well,
right?
And there's also for them to go through and see which child in the class at the top mark that is also from Armour Township.
Yeah. We got kids that live in Armour Township, I guess this says for all Megwin secondary, I was gonna say that may goes to other schools too.
And I don't think it should just be Almagwin. I think we have, it should be, you can apply for this, and if you go to Huntsville, then, anybody who is from Armour Township graduating grade 12 can apply and lives in Armour Township can apply for this.
So remove the graduating student from just a graduating student.
Graduate, yeah, grade 12 graduate.
Okay.
I'm gonna I think it's a wonderful idea. I don't like the idea. It's a great idea if it's a one-time thing. I have a hard time committing to this year after year after year after year. Nothing against Marty, by no means. There's nothing against Marty, but I don't believe we should be doing ongoing contributions of this nature. I just don't feel good about it.
But we do the graduation one every year.
What I'm hearing is Rod doesn't want one done for him.
He wants,
I'm just saying, it's like supporting a business and ignoring the other ones. I do not feel comfortable. I'm personally, if there's no hurry of doing this, I'd like to hear from Wendy, because she can twist my thoughts the same, like, I don't know the words to use, but I don't feel comfortable having an ongoing donation from ratepayers, people that might not like Marty, don't want their money to be going to Marty. I do not believe.
So it's not so much, it's not the bursary idea, it's more.
It's the ongoing,
Yeah.
picking somebody, like, I have no qualms of giving money to the school for graduation, but I have a problem doing an honor, like, picking an individual and having a bursary ongoing because of it.
I agree with you, because typically if it was the Marty Corcoran, it would be Marty Corcoran's family that each year would put up that money. So I know what you're saying now. Normally, if it would be an ongoing bursary in the name of somebody, it's that person's estate or family that is paying that.
Dwayne Langlois, the Langlois family make a contribution to the high school every year on behalf of Dwayne.
Yes, yeah.
That's where I'm getting it.
Yeah,
Like,
I agree with that.
that's better wording of
the make
what I'm thinking.
teeth one is in honor of someone. It's not.
But so we could do an Armour Township Council bursary, and we could do it every year. Like we do the 200 or whatever that the high school asks for, but we could do a $500 bursary every year. But if we're gonna put a person's name on it, I would agree with you. I think we should be doing a bursary every year. I think it's a beautiful idea, and I think it's beautiful to do it for Marty. But typically, if it's named for a person, that person is paying it, or that person, not a township.
You couldn't start this year. This year's Armour Township bursary is in memory of Marty.
And every year it's a different person.
Well, I wouldn't even say we'd have to say it's in memory of, because if you're going down the line and somebody else has made a big contribution to the community and you forget them, it's just,
Absolutely.
you have it looks good, but you have the potential of upsetting somebody.
Could we reach out to Marty's family and see if,
I think that was the intent after the meeting.
okay, like we could reach out and see if they wanted to make the financial contribution as opposed to Armour Township?
That wasn't the intention.
Okay.
So basically what we'd be doing is every year we have the $500 bursary. This year, we're calling up Marty's family and saying, this year we would like to do this bursary in Marty's honor.
Mhm.
And it'll be named and next year, maybe it's Marty again, or maybe it's somebody else, or.
So moving forward, doing this, I think we don't bother giving to the school's side of it. We're donating money for a student, period.
So that's the difference, is the school one they're asking and they give it to somebody based on whatever. This is us, people, these are the kids applying to us to show us that they are
Okay.
deserving of
Okay.
this
And
award.
they could.
There's a different loop in there. Okay, I get that.
So it could be Huntsville, they could be.
Yes, yeah. So one, the high
Okay.
school just asks everybody for a donation. This is, somebody has taken the time to apply to Armour Township because they feel they meet the criteria of this bursary.
I like that idea. And when Charlene first presented it, I like the idea of, it was like, you know what, if there was a kid that took small engine repair, bang, he's got my vote.
Yeah.
That's what, but I mean, but I'm stuck on every year it's Marty. Like I just don't feel good with that. As far as we do a bursary, I could go ahead with that.
So, and even if we kept a lot of it in, recognize a student that resides in Armour Township, a student who demonstrates community spirit, civic engagement, and interest in trades mechanics. It doesn't need to reflect Marty, just those things.
And I mean, there was like, I know a lot of people, like, the bus stops out around 3 Mile Lake, there's umpteen kids go to Huntsville.
Yeah.
So we can't pick a school.
Yep.
Right.
So devil's advocate, do we take out the skilled trades part and just make it, this is about community spirit and civic engagement?
And I think that's good because, I mean, if we can get somebody that,
And not to be sexist enough, but how many girls are gonna be in the trades?
Is this over and in?
Actually, a lot more lately.
Yeah. So, and there's a lot of bursaries for the top English mark. Not a lot of boys get that. There's a lot, you know what I mean? So I do think it's nice to have one that is for skilled trades.
Yeah,
There are bursaries for math, there's bursaries for a lot of things. And I'm sure there's bursaries as well for skilled trades already, but I don't mind keeping that part in.
Yeah.
'Cause-
and I don't have a problem, like, I look at it as it's an opportunity to, help an individual go further. And I mean, the high marks may not be like this may be I don't know what the word would be, not a racist, but it's just it's the wrong word. But potentially the kids with higher marks usually come from a higher class family. They could
Socioeconomic.
afford to go somewhere. I'm not looking at
Somebody who said to struggle maybe to get through.
looking at somebody that's taken the initiative to fill out do a report and explain why they would like to go further in the field.
So here's the only concern I have is, unless I'm missing it, it doesn't say anything about continuing education. It just says you have to be graduating. I think the bursary needs to be for somebody who's continuing
I
on.
like that idea.
Like it says, granted to a graduating student. It does not say who's enrolled in post-secondary.
But you know what?
Or
There's
future.
I'll argue with myself and you. I've known I've had kids help me that are phenomenal work ethics, but couldn't afford to go beyond high school.
But that's what this $500 is for, to help you.
I know, but that doesn't even cover a kid's meals. Like if you're.
There are programs in place.
I know, I'm just saying, I wouldn't want to limit it to, I would like to give it to a kid that graduates that has the incentive or the ambition to write a letter, fill this out and say why they wanted it or why, like, but it just, part of me would agree, yes, it's to further your education. But if you're not gonna further your education, hey, I appreciate you've gone to school and
And
you
that could
finished.
be, that could be part of our judgment when we,
Okay.
if we could.
30 years.
You could have a kid come in and say, well, I'm not ready to go on to post-secondary, but I'm gonna start my own business this year.
I'm buying tools.
Because I'm gonna save up for, and this is how I'm gonna, so, okay, well, that's a pretty good investment of the $500.
Fair, okay.
I'd like to hear Wendy's comments, and I think we
Yeah.
should table this.
We could table till the next meeting.
Yeah.
Was the intent to have it out for the graduating class this year? And if we put it through on June 10th,
Doesn't matter. I just saw the one from McMurrick Monteith and I thought it was an opportunity for council to participate if they wanted to. I don't think that, like I said, tonight they already came home. I think it's too late.
It'd be too.
So whatever you're proposing would be
Not gonna
fine.
do it this year. It's not gonna help graduating students this year.
I don't think you'll get it through quick, you
No.
know, too rushed. I think if we're gonna do it, it's 2026, plus you guys have already given $300 to the school. So, but tabling it is,
well, the best time to announce that that's going to be an opportunity is, I think, at the beginning of the school year, especially for the
Yeah.
grade 12 school.
But-
Never to work towards it,
they don't put that information out about the bursaries and scholarships till.
but it's not theirs, it's ours.
But guidance does have that information. I think almost at any time during the year, you could go to guidance and say what bursaries are available. Cause you can almost like work towards getting.
Yeah, but that's something that goes out in our tax bills. Bursary coming, there's a bursary coming
Yeah, we
around.
can
This is what
still
we're doing.
mark
If
it.
you want more information, check the website. type
Okay.
deal.
So we're gonna table this?
Yep.
Until next meeting?
Yep.
Assuming,
I'll tweak the staff report as well to remove the requirement for it just to be the one school.
So the Agricultural Society does this, I purchased one ounce silver coin and we started it with, what got her name on that?
It's like $3,000 an ounce.
Silver.
Oh, darn, that's gold.
Oh, sorry,
The lady contributed her whole life was the Agricultural Society, like she brought us out of the boxes in the basement and brought us to attention about everything. So we've done a special award and it's been for a limit of 3 years. And now we're doing Ruth Armstrong. Somebody will get an honorary gift on behalf of Ruth Armstrong. We will do it 3 years.
So our draft application doesn't match the staff report. And in the draft application, it's literally a check mark, like it's, yes,
That's what I had, because that's where, with this one, I didn't know if we wanted to set it up where the kids had to write.
I would like at least a paragraph or something, but it also,
Paragraph only. That's what.
tell us how you meet the requirements of this bursary. So they literally say, I've been an active member of the community, I volunteer at the Agriculture Society, and
just change the element.
I just put a hammer through my windshield because the car wouldn't start or whatever, right? Like,
I can help you. I'll help Sharon.
okay. But it also says, please provide the name of the university, college, trade school, or apprenticeship that you're registered with.
A bursary, like by definition, a bursary
It's
is
for post-secondary.
supporting people in studying.
Mhm.
It doesn't necessarily, say whether it's college, whatever, university grades.
I taken that out then, about the college, university, that line?
If we're not requiring them to be going on to post-secondary.
There's trades.
Please please provide a description of the continued education or skills development that you are pursuing.
Some people do stuff online nowadays.
Yeah, that could be different.
And my concern is that I would read that if I wasn't going to post-secondary, and be like, oh, I can't apply for this one, because I'm starting a business. I'm not going to school.
Yeah, like I like Rod's point was. Kid doesn't need to go to school if he knows how to motor. I take my lawnmower to him monthly. Right.
Well, if you're taking it monthly, then he might not be fixing it right. He might need to go to school.
So it keeps the business going.
Our kids, they'll pay the money every month.
No, mine never works.
Okay, so we're gonna table that. We'll have further discussion next meeting. Last item on here is the resignation letter from Kayla from the library board, which is too bad, but. And I gather we've got advertising out for a new Armour rep. Okay. Anything else? Council of Township of Armour adjourn this regular council. Oh, go
One
ahead.
other thing, Braden Smith asked us to hurry up and get a bylaw in regards to septics.
Oh, that came up in our meeting.
Yeah.
Yes, so I have spoken with Doug. Doug is going to confer with Mike Wilmot. And the concern there was draft something up that makes some sense. And he just wanted resolutions, not necessarily bylaws, but resolutions.
Oh, you want a resolution ASAP?
Yeah, we are ready, willing, and able, so
Okay,
that'll be at the next meeting.
Yep, okay. I just didn't want it
Yeah, I forgot about that.
falling through the cracks.
Followed up with that right away, and Doug's on it.
Okay, Council Township of Armour adjourn this regular meeting at 9:23 to be precise. So the next regular council meeting is scheduled for June 10th, 2025. Call the mayor or the clerk. Dorothy,
Sure.
Jerry, all those in favor of leaving?
Question for you, Jerry.
Right. Thanks
Night,
for the
Abby.
flowers.
Do you have